Is the Columbia River crossing a bridge too far fetched? Welcome to Comcast Newsmakers. I'm Ken Ackerman. Joining us is Senator Tim Knopp. Senator, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Ken.
You know, as of, a month ago, I thought the Columbia River crossing, with 15 years, 20 years down the tube, millions down the tube, but you say it's not dead yet.
Well, there are people who want to revive it. The governor wants to revive it, and there's people in both labor and business who would like to revive it and do an Oregon-only bridge without Washington. Now, I don't know if that means you build to the middle of the Columbia River and stop. That's a really bad idea. The initial bill, which was House Bill 2800A, protected taxpayers, and there were several triggers in there that protected taxpayers. Now, essentially, they're saying we're going to ignore those triggers, we're just going to move forward, and it's a really bad idea. So it should be dead at this point unless Washington acted, which they have not.
So what do you think it's going to take? Because obviously, well, not obviously, there are people who think it can be done, and maybe it can be, but without Washington's dollars and Washington's okay, how do we do this?
Well, we shouldn't do it because it creates huge exposure for Oregon taxpayers. And we shouldn't put Oregon taxpayers on the hook when Washington isn't willing to go with us. I mean, this is a bridge that both Washingtonians and Oregonians use on a regular basis, on a daily basis, and we ought to come to an agreement that we're going to go this together as opposed to go it alone. This is a really bad idea to go it alone for Oregonians.
You know, last time we were together, we talked about PERS. We talked about how those recipients of PERS retirement funds move out of state. They're still getting that 9% to help offset the state income tax, even though they live out of state and they don't have to pay it. Fortunately, that's no more, correct?
The legislature did act on that and a couple other issues, and to save about $2.6 billion out of $14 billion in unfunded liability. Unfortunately, that doesn't go far enough to even bend the cost curve back to the point where rates start to go down and you can start to invest more in education and public safety and human services. And so really what we're going to be asking for in the 2014 session is that we go much further in PERS reform. The reforms that passed were a Democrat-only solution that the unions allowed them to do, and we really need to do a solution that works for all Oregonians, that's fair, sustainable, and there's some accountability in that going forward.
When you say we need to do a solution, give us an idea of what we could take a big chunk out of that with.
Well, so there's two or three things you can do. And one is to do a bigger COLA adjustment. They did a minor COLA adjustment, and so it would essentially be adjusting the COLA for people making over about $30,000 in PERS on an annual basis, and adjusting those COLAs downward to make up for the losses and the overcrediting that happened between 1979 and 1999. Another opportunity really is a redirect of the individual account program, and that would be redirecting money that goes into the individual accounts back into the PERS system. Part of the reason we took those out in the 2003 reforms and put them in a separate account was to essentially try to stop the money match from being such a huge problem. And the other way you can get at that is to attempt to mitigate or modify the money match in some way. Now, some people say, well, isn't all this stuff illegal? Won't the courts throw it out? We won't know until we actually get it to the courts, and that's our point, is let's make the try, let's do the best we can on the legal advice that we have, and let's try to make a difference.
How did we allow the overcrediting to occur for those 20 plus years?
Really, that is the story behind PERS, and what you had essentially for many of those years was a union-dominated board, so these were union appointees from the governor that the legislature confirmed, and the legislature didn't do anything to insignificant oversight on this. And so what happened was they overcredited those Tier 1 accounts. When they were supposed to be getting 8%, they'd give them 21%.
Right. Okay. Senator Tim Knopp, thank you very much. Always a pleasure talking to you. Glad to have you on Comcast Newsmakers, and thank you for being here as well.